BIOS Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, UEFI, settings. Minus boot options. The basic input-output system, commonly known as BIOS, and its modern replacement, the Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, or UEFI, serve as the foundational software of any computer. Before your operating system can even begin to load, this firmware must wake up the hardware and figure out exactly where to find Windows or Linux. This is where the boot options, also known as the boot priority or boot order, become one of the most important settings for a hardware technician to understand. The boot sequence explained. When you press the power button, the motherboard performs a quick hardware check and then looks at the boot order list. This list tells the computer which storage devices to check and in what exact sequence. If the first device on the list does not contain a valid operating system, the motherboard will simply move down to the second device, and then the third until it finds something it can load. If it reaches the bottom of the list and finds nothing, the screen will display an error message stating that no bootable device was found. Common boot devices. A technician will frequently manipulate this list depending on the task at hand. The most common devices you will see in the boot options include the following. The primary storage drive in a normally functioning computer. The internal solid-state drive or hard drive is set to the very top of the list. In modern UEFI systems, this often appears as Windows Boot Manager rather than the physical name of the drive itself. Removable USB media. If you need to install a brand new operating system or run a diagnostic tool like a memory tester, you must enter the UEFI interface and move the USB flash drive to the absolute top of the boot order. This forces the computer to load your tool instead of booting into the broken operating system. Network boot or PXE in enterprise environments. Computers often boot directly from a central server rather than a local hard drive using the pre-boot execution environment, known as PXE. If a user complains that their computer is taking a long time to start and is displaying strange network text on a black screen, a technician will check the boot options to ensure PXE is moved to the bottom of the list or disabled entirely. Navigating the interface. To access these settings, a technician must press a specific key, usually Delete, F2, or F12, immediately after turning the computer on. In older legacy BIOS systems, changing the boot order required using the arrow keys and the plus or minus keys on the keyboard to move text items up and down a blue screen. Modern UEFI interfaces are much more user-friendly, allowing a technician to use a mouse to literally drag and drop colorful icons into the correct sequence.